Disclaimer, in this video I do talk about some trauma and some intimate moments in my life. Viewer discretion is advised. Okay, let's watch. These eyelashes are like massive. I don't know how I feel about them, to be very honest, but they're there. I feel like I have to sit up more. My body's so much shorter than Quentin's is, so the seat doesn't go as high as I want it to. Oh well. I have gone into the habit of writing down things that bother me, and while doing so, been thinking about the idea that talking about all these things that bother me and bother us, it's good to let it out, you know, but why isn't there more of an emphasis on talking about happiness? I had this discussion with a friend of mine the other day. We worked together, and she and I were talking about how happiness isn't portrayed as powerful as like the underdog story, or as the rags to riches stories and stuff like that, when in reality, isn't that what we're all striving for, is happiness and love and peace and a good life? I don't know, just thoughts that I've had. I don't know, I had this idea in my head about how there's that saying, treat others the way that you'd want to be treated. And I see this displayed so often in the opposite way. Like, I feel like people know about that saying, but they don't know how to actually put it into practice. I see a lot of revenge instead of how you should treat people good. People are treated in a shitty way, or in a way that isn't comfortable or right even, and they think that, oh, well, you treated me this way, I'm going to treat you this way because that's how I was treated. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's something that I haven't become aware of as of late. And I feel like, I don't know if people do this because in a weird way, since people are treating them crappy or in a bad way, they think, oh, well, this is how people perceive me this is how people think I should be treated, so I'm going to treat others this way. And I don't know if I'm just like psychoanalyzing that and like going into the whole psychology of it, which I do too often. I analyze everything, but I just found that pretty interesting, to be very honest. Like, we've morphed this saying, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. And I'm wondering if people really understand their worth. And maybe that's what it comes down to, is they don't understand their worth, and people need to display more respect and kindness, and they should just be doing that anyway. But during this whole year, you think that you just see people's worst sides around Christmas time. This whole year has been like a long-term effect of that. Like, I've just seen horrible sides of people, and I don't even know if they're like, I don't even believe that's their intention most of the time, but it's sad, and I've never been so disappointed in people. But that's my rant on that. I have a joke before I go on. You know, Tide, like the laundry detergent, it says it attacks 7-day-old stains. And my nerdy brain was like, well, does it actually do any damage? Like, does it take any damage? Does it actually attack and damage the stains, or do the stains just not budge? Like, how effective is it? Okay, I'm D&D deprived, so just don't mind me. I just want to talk about how your environment and the people you surround yourself with can sometimes make it more difficult, can make you feel like invalid and not right. For my example, I have recently come out as non-binary, asexual, panromantic. I know that's a mouthful. The people I've told, they're like, what does that mean? So I don't identify as female or male. Um, it's taken me a while to come out, obviously. There's a lot of trauma in my life that has clouded my being and has kept me from um, getting to know myself and really being honest and true to myself. It's been difficult. We all know, we've all been there to an extent. Asexual, it just means that I'm not into sex. Like, it's like I've always had this issue with it in the way that well, not issue, that's the wrong word. I break down and I'm super uncomfortable with it. Like, I know there's some trauma involved with my intimacy stuff, but at the same time, I don't ever really want it. And I don't think about it. I don't ever really think about intimacy or sex when I'm getting into a cycle of, oh, does my partner want it? Is this a problem? Like, because, everyone has things that are more important to them, especially with society and the pressures of, oh, sex is so important. So the only time I really think about it is if I'm like watching a movie, or just randomly thinking if my partner's okay, which, we've had discussions and whatnot. It's going great. So, but yeah, that's the only time I really ever think about intimacy in that way. It kind of grosses me out sometimes. And I know, even just saying that, I've gone on a lot of backlash, and it's been difficult because when you have a lot of people coming at you saying that's wrong, or even society, movies, media, saying that you're wrong, you feel like, well, there must be something wrong with me. So I'm going to touch back more on that. The way that it's wrong is in, like, I keep saying society, I don't know if there's a better word for that, but the way that it's wrong is like people come to the conclusion that if you're not being intimate, if you're not having this experience with your partner, then you're not meant to be with them, or you're not compatible, like there's something that you guys need to talk about. And in reality, like, that's not the case. There's a lot of people in this world that are asexual. Hello, this is what they look like. Well, not just like this, but yeah. Panromantic. So I'm pansexual, meaning like, and pansexual meaning that I love everybody. Like, when I say that, I don't want everybody, but I just, it doesn't matter what gender you are. If you have no gender, I will be attracted to you. Like I will find you interesting. I will like you. I will love you. Like, romantic part of it, panromantic, means that I experience romantic feelings, but not sexual feelings. I'm doing my best to figure out how to explain that best to people, just because, like, some people, like, I do get triggered when people ask me sometimes, because to me, like, I've always been this way. I just never knew how to explain it and, like, put it in one sentence to explain to people. So, yeah, of course, you're allowed to feel triggered. You're allowed to feel, like, annoyed that people are asking you why you don't want sex, or you don't, like, are you gonna leave your partner? Like, that's been the most annoying question I've gotten. But at the same time, me being a curious human being, I understand other people are curious human beings, and it's good to educate each other. It's good to, like, people are honestly just wondering what it all means. And I get that. There are some trolls out there who just want to make you feel invalid and wrong and whatnot, but we don't talk to them. Or if we do, we just, like, love them and be like, okay, bye. 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 I also get all the questions as well, because You look at me, I look female. I love wearing makeup. I like having my hair long. I did it. At the same time, that's why it's been super difficult for me to express myself more freely and honestly because of the pressures in our society and the pressures in this world that if you look a certain way, you've got to be that way and you've got to be that person. And now I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, no. No, going back to what I was saying before, it really helps having people who support you, who are either like a part of the community, specifically talking about this. Like, it's good to associate your people with the right people. I can't speak. Involve yourself in Facebook groups, chat. Why am I going to say chat bots? I'm such an old fogey. It's insane. I was talking to someone about Snapchat today, and I'm like, I don't even use that. I keep saying email instead of messaging too. So sue me, but don't because I have no money. Surround yourself with people who they don't necessarily have to be in the same community. They don't have to be in the same boat. Just people are more open. Like I didn't realize what real friendship was until like a couple of years ago. I'm not like negating the people in my life up until then. I'm just expressing I didn't realize what friendship was and how real friendship is like when people accept you who you are and as you change. Like it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there with you just being one type of person and then when you change they're not your friend anymore. Your friend is allowed to feel like a little alienated. Obviously they're allowed to feel, people are allowed to feel how they want to feel, and not everyone's supposed to stay in your life forever. So bottom line, I've surrounded myself with people who love, support me, and are trying to understand myself, who are trying to be involved in my life. And like I said, they may not understand, but they're okay with it. They're like, cool. I remember being in the car with Quentin, and he's like, maybe you're asexual. And I was like, what does that mean? I grew up in a very cut off like world where I didn't understand, where I didn't, there was a lot of things that I was sheltered from, to be honest. I'm not gonna not admit that I was. And so I did my own digging. I talked to people. I've engaged in like a lot of conversations, and I was like looking back at my life and it just made sense. I'm like, wow, like, yeah, this is who I am. It's just super interesting when people who are on the outside see people coming out and they're like, what? So all of a sudden you don't like this, or all of a sudden you don't like having sex? Like what the heck? Like I slept with you or whatever, you know? And I'm like, it doesn't mean like I like there's a lot of times that there's pressure. There's a lot of times that it felt like it had to happen. And I know that's like might be a TMI. It's not like people ever pressured me. Like there were obviously a few circumstances that happened, but I felt like it was something I had to do. It may seem a little confusing. I had a really hard time talking about this stuff, but I felt ready at the same time. So what I mean by pressure and not pressure, which I know it sounded confusing, is a lot of the times I knew that it wasn't the other person's intention to make me feel the way I felt or to take advantage of me, not knowing myself how to explain this to people and feeling pressure like by myself to have to do this act or whatnot. So I hope that made sense. That in order to be accepted, in order to be loved, in order to be close to somebody, and at the end of it all, I'd always feel empty. I'd feel like I was violated when it wasn't even that person. It was just the act of it. It just, I don't enjoy it and I don't feel connected to it. I start feeling lost and upset. I just started looking at moments in my life and realizing that there are so many of these instances that I put myself down, that I would get angry at myself for not being normal, for having something wrong with me. And that was because I listened to people. I would watch movies and shows and talk to other couples, and all you hear all the time is sex is important. If you don't have it, you don't have anything. That's why I would end a lot of relationships. That's why I wouldn't want to get close to people, because I didn't have it. I was like, maybe I'm better off alone. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being alone. I'm just like sharing my own experience and my own story. I truly wanted to have that partnership with somebody, to share my life with somebody. And I just kept feeling like that would never happen because I don't have this thing. I'm missing something. That was my mindset. I'm missing a part of myself that should be there. And then when I talked with my partner about this, he has a lot of friends within the community, within the LGBTQ plus community, and he's learned a lot from them. And he brought up the idea like, hey, maybe you're asexual. And I was like, what is that? So I looked into it, and yeah, it just makes sense. But there's some negative stigma behind labeling yourself and whatnot, and a lot of pressure sometimes. I get that. Like, I felt pressure to be like, oh, what if I don't fit all the categories? Like, does that mean I'm not non-binary? Does that mean that I'm not asexual? Does that mean that I'm just don't belong there? And to be very honest, I've gotten a lot of great insight and advice from a friend of mine. I love you. Thank you. They expressed it to me in the way that if it feels right, you're most likely that. You don't have to label yourself, and labels change. They can change over time. Like, as we grow and learn as a society, as a world, as people, labeling myself has created this feeling of belonging, sense of belonging, and instead of feeling like there's constantly something wrong with me. The definitions of asexual panromantic in itself is who I am. And my whole life, I didn't know how to express that. I didn't know, other than like my appearance, obviously, but at the same time, like, that's not enough. Like, I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. I didn't understand what I was feeling either. And having this education and learning and these labels and what they mean has created peace in my life. So much peace and so much compassion with myself and understanding of myself. That is why it is so important. They're so important to me. What I'm trying to get at is, it's like trying on clothes. I was told, okay, so try on this shirt, see how you feel. Talk to people within that community, ask questions, and see how you feel. And if it fits, it's great. If it doesn't, that's okay. I've tried on a couple shirts. The Ace shirt fits really well. I know it's like a interesting analogy, but I found it very helpful to, like, I'm a very visual person, so visualizing that has really helped me learn and really get through this. There's a lot of compassion that you need to have with yourself as you're going through this part of your journey. That's what I found anyway. Not knowing right away, like, especially when I started going down the road of, I think I'm non-binary. So many questions and so many thoughts that I would confuse myself with, and so many boxes checked, but some not checked. And as soon as I voice that to people or whatnot, they're like, so what are your pronouns? And I'm like, you don't know. And it's just like, I get the questions, I get the curiosity, I get people like, they're just trying to respect me and love me and support me in that way. But as you're going through it, it can feel very pressuring, and it can feel like more confusing. And so going through that part of my journey, I would like switch between she, they, she, her, they, them, blah, 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 blah. But like I said, try on shirts, you know. Obviously, I didn't want to do like a whole video about it specifically until I felt more comfortable with myself and saying this or that. Now I know, like, like I've always known. My pronouns are they, them. This is where I'm all tying it together. Do not let what other people say get to you, or the thought that you're going to be a burden to people get to you. Going through this part of the process, I've felt like pressure in the way that I don't want to burden people and having to ask them or correct them from saying she, her, and to they, them. But at the same time, like, this is who I am. And I've spent all my life denying myself, all my life putting up with the idea that I'm not being true to myself. No more. No more. We only get one life as far as we know. I know it sounds super cliche saying that, but it's true. We aren't guaranteed tomorrow. We aren't guaranteed like even an hour from now. And I'm sorry if that scares you. It scares me every day. Like, I go to bed every day. I'm like, am I going to die? But you get what I'm trying to say. There shouldn't be another minute in our lives where we aren't being us, aren't being me, aren't being you. And this is something I have to remind myself of all the time when I'm about to correct somebody, or when I'm about to be like, hey, like, this is me. I get it. It's hard not feeling like a burden, especially when people have known you as one person, like even their whole life. Just having that patience with people, also having the patience with yourself, understanding that not everybody, like, this goes with all aspects of life too. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to agree or support you. And it will hurt when the people that you thought would support you, or the people that you love, don't. There are some like groups, Facebook groups, like I said, there are like resources to talk to people. I'll link the resources I have below that I've used, because they're great people to talk to. If you guys know of resources, like, please list them below too. That'd be great. This life is yours. And I'm not saying to become entitled. I'm not saying to become the negative part of being selfish. I'm just expressing that it's your life. If you're not being your truest you're wasting it. I'm trying to change those words a little bit, because wasting it sounds like there's going to be regret added into the mix. And I don't want myself or anybody watching this video to regret their lives. For myself, like, I look back to my life and I'm like, I'm 28, and this is just something I'm like realizing. Like, obviously, like I said, I've been this way my whole life. It's not like I'm not Trina. I'm still Trina. This is just me unveiling everything I am. It has been hard looking back in my life and being like, why didn't this happen sooner? But then I actually look back and I'm like, I don't think I could have noticed anything sooner. The way that your life has gone so far is how it's gone, and then you can't change that. And it's perfect the way it is, as hard as it can be, as hard as it has been, as hard as it's going to be. Yeah. Have compassion with yourself, love yourself, be true to yourself. All messages that I've said from day one of this channel is the same. Like I said, just because you're uncovering who you are doesn't mean you're not who you've been. You're just getting to know yourself even deeper. You're being as like the most honest with yourself you've ever been. Much love. I'm probably going to go take off these eyelashes because they're heavy as fuck. I love you all. Much love, and I'm hoping to have this video up before the end of the month. Yeah. Bye-bye.